This morning, the trial of a woman accused of murdering her lover at his Arizona home resumes. Jodi Arias broke down on the witness stand last week when prosecutors grilled her about the day Travis Alexander was killed. The trial is heading into its 10th week today. 48 Hours correspondent Maureen Maher has been covering the case since 2008 and shows us Arias' changing story.
After 4 days of intense cross-examination, Jodi Arias sobbed uncontrollably as prosecutors grilled her about the events of June 4th, 2008.
Ma'am, were you crying when you were shooting him?
I don't remember.
Were you crying when you were stabbing him?
I don't remember.
How about when you cut his throat? Were you crying then?
I don't know.
32-year-old Arias is accused of killing her ex-boyfriend, Travis Alexander, in a fit of jealousy at his Mesa, Arizona home. She claims to have acted in self-defense, killing Alexander after he became enraged because she dropped his new camera while taking photos of him in the shower. In 2008, Arias told 48 Hours that Alexander had never threatened her life.
Was he ever abusive to you in any way?
You know, I don't want to ever say anything bad about him or hurt his reputation at all. He lost his temper a few times, and it wasn't anything that really required me to, that I never felt my life was in danger.
Arias' version of what happened that day has changed several times. First, she claimed to have no idea who committed the crime. Later, she described to 48 Hours how Alexander had been murdered in cold blood during a home invasion.
I ran out the front door and I got into my car. I drove forever and ever until I was in the middle of the desert.
But when the trial began, her attorney shocked everyone by changing her defense yet again. This time, she claimed that she had killed Alexander, acting in self-defense.
It had reached a point of no return. Travis left Jodi no other option but to defend herself.
Last week, prosecutors poked holes in each of Arias' stories to prove that Arias not only murdered Alexander, but methodically worked to cover her tracks by sending him voicemails and emails days after she allegedly killed him.
You wrote that, right?
Yes.
That was your way of an attempt for you to, again, stage the scene, so to speak, right?
Yes.
Alexander was found by friends 5 days after he was stabbed 27 times and shot in the head, a crime so brutal that if convicted, Arias could face the death penalty.
Maureen Maher joins us now from Chicago. So you interviewed Jodi back in 2008. What's your take on her? I mean, has she changed a lot?
No, she's still very composed and very calm, Nora. I think that, as I mentioned before, she's a very skilled liar. But let me just say that the crime scene photos from this particular case, in 20 years of being a crime reporter, top 3 of the worst I have ever seen. This, even if it was self-defense, there is certainly a part of this act that was fueled by a tremendous amount of anger. And that anger comes out in those pictures, but never on the stand. You've never seen any of that on the stand in the last couple of weeks or in the interviews that we conducted.
So what's going to happen in the trial coming up?
Well, she's still going to be on the stand for another couple of days. Even once the prosecution finishes up, the defense will put her back on to try to clean up what we've seen just in the last 2 or 3 days, where for the first time she has broken down. I think we are still a couple of weeks away from a verdict on this trial.
And what would you guess it will be?
Well, I don't see that she's going to be able to walk away from this in any way, shape, or form, Charlie. I think it'll be murder one, no question. Really, we're looking at whether or not it's the death penalty, and I think that's where the tapes from 48 Hours come into play, where you're talking about mitigating circumstances.
Maureen, thank you so much.